This week I'm brewing a Vienna Lager, and where better to learn how to brew one than in the Austrian capital itself. Yeah, that would have been good.
One last ticket before it's gone. One last summer before it's fall.
Hello, I'm Martin Keane and I'm very much at home taking the Homebrew Challenge to brew 99 different beer styles, and today I am brewing Vienna Lager and also taking a look at Carbonation.
And you're beating on my drum. And you're beating on my door.
The ingredients for this beer all milled in here. What I'm going with is, for the base malt, I have a combination of Vienna and light Munich malt. So I have 6 pounds of Vienna malt and then 4 pounds of light Munich. Now the style guidelines do allow some caramel and some dark malts to add some sweetness and colour to the beer, but we definitely want to stay away from any sort of toastiness. So for the specialty malts, I am using 8 ounces of Caramunich I and 2 ounces of chocolate malt for colour. Mashing in here at 152 Fahrenheit for 60 minutes, looking to get an original gravity of 1052, which should give me a beer at about 5.4% ABV.
Did I do enough to feed my soul?
This one smells so good. Now the story of how Vienna Lager came to be is pretty interesting, and it starts in 1830s England, where a new kilning technology is gaining popularity to dry malt using hot air instead of the traditional way to do it, which is directly over a fire, which would create kind of a smoky profile to the malt. A profile that I'm well aware of, having just brewed a smoke beer. Now, a guy called Franz Anton Dreher discovered this technology when visiting these English breweries and took it back to his father's brewery with him, where the head brewer there replicated the process and created an amber, slightly caramelized malt called Vienna Malt. When combined with lager yeast, the beer that they made was sold as Lager Vienna Type, and Vienna Lager as we know it today was born.
And I can't stop to breathe.
So the mash went well, I hit my numbers. I'm now draining into the bottom kettle and heating up the wort. While that's going on, let's talk about bubbles. Now, down the years, I've used a number of carbonation techniques. When I started out bottling, I would just add a little bit of sugar in with the beer at bottling time and let whatever yeast was left do the work. That worked reasonably well, but it was pretty inconsistent. Some beers would be super fizzy and some would be quite flat. That is until I had a batch of Belgian triple that turned into a case of bottle bombs, where the carbonation was so strong that the bottles ended up actually exploding in my cupboard. I have not tried that carbonation method since. When I moved on to kegging, I actually went out and bought a little gizmo called a Blickman Quick Carb. Now this can carbonate a flat keg of beer in about 45 minutes, and it absolutely worked. You'd run the beer through the Quick Carb, it would run through a carbonation stone, and you could set the pressure, and that would set exactly how much carbonation you would end up getting. So that certainly worked, but it was something that you had to set up and sanitize and then take down and clean. It was just, it was a lot of work. It's really hard actually to beat the convenience of my current method, which is the set it and forget it forced carb method. Now, while different beers traditionally have different levels of carbonation, I am but a simple man, and I typically just have pretty much the same amount of carbonation in all my beers. I like them to be pretty fizzy with a nice foamy head on top. So here's what I do, the lazy man's method for forced carbonating. I've got a keg of beer right here. It's a German Pils, and thanks to the magic of video, you might have seen me taste this beer several weeks ago, but as of right now, I've never tried it and it needs to be carbonated. My gas canister is connected to 4 regulators here, and one of them I have set at all times to 40 psi. That's this guy. What I'll do is I will put the 40 psi pressure into the keg and leave this connected for 36 hours. Hey Siri, remind me to turn off the gas in 36 hours. There we go. 36 hours seems to be about the right number. When the time gets done, I will just pull the valve to release the pressure, set it to serving pressure and try it. If it needs a bit more, then I'll put it on for a few more hours, but typically 36 hours seems to do it. So there you go, the lazy man's method of forced carbonation. Now the style guidelines recommend using continental hops. We want to get a robust hoppy flavour without having any sort of floral aromas. So I'm using for my bittering hop Perle hops. I have 0.75 ounces of Perle hops, which will go in at 60 minutes. Then at 10 minutes, I have 1 ounce of Tettnang. Gravity finished on the money at 10:52. I've run out of ice, so I just used the groundwater to chill the wort, and I got down to 67 Fahrenheit. That is now in my fermentation chamber, chilling to 50 Fahrenheit, at which point I will add my lager yeast. This is German lager yeast, WLP 830. Then sit back, let that ferment. When it's done, I'll give it the old 40 psi lazy man forced carbonation treatment. It's tasting time. Lauren, welcome back.
Thank you for having me.
Wasn't sure if you're coming back after the last experience of the smoke beer. Yeah, so this beer has come out at 10:12 for a 5.2% beer, and it's looking a similar colour to the smoked beer, but I think a little bit clearer. What do you think about appearance?
Appearance wise, yes. I mean, I can see the color, but definitely clear. It does have quite a caramelly looking color to it.
Yeah, sort of an ambery, coppery colour. It's pretty attractive colour, I think. I like the look of this.
Yeah, it looks pretty nice.
Okay, how about the aroma?
I smell sweetness.
Yep. Yeah, you'd expect to get a sort of a very malty aroma off this. I'm getting very sweet malty as well.
Yeah, no, there's definitely a sweet like tones to it.
Yep.
I'm interested to see what it tastes like.
All right, let's give it a try.
Okay.
So what you'd expect from a beer like this is quite a malty character to it, which, I mean, I think we got that from the smell. It's
yeah.
definitely got that to it. And just a little bit of hop bitterness to it as well. So this is not going to be sort of like a floral hop at all, but just a bit of bitterness in the hop taste. Are you getting any of that?
I am. Yeah, the hop bitterness kind of lingers and then it like subtly goes away.
Yep. So it's to me quite bready, malty, a little bit bitter. It's just a lot of characteristics that I really like in a beer.
Yeah, slight bitterness though.
Yeah, slight bitterness.
It's very slight. It's just a little bit there.
Right, this is not an IPA.
No, and I love IPAs. I can't wait for those.
It's so long until I get to do IPAs, but
I can't wait. I want them so bad.